Hi, I'm Cynic-Al. Welcome to my channel, Cynic-Al Plays. This is mostly going to be for PA videos, so the inaugural video here is a 4-way free-for-all that I was involved in, basically last weekend I think. Just thought it was a decent one, a couple of Titans come in, good overview of what new units are in, a couple of the new units and Titans. This is of course a Titans video, not vanilla PA, so we'll just kick off with it here. I'm down here in the orange, going for a vehicle start. We have Q-Fire in white, going first mechs. Gills in the bluish purpley colour, going vehicle opening, and yellow going mechs followed by vehicle. It's a good wide planet here, a couple of raised platforms. There should be another 2 players starting here if this was being used to its full size, but they're up for grabs here. And then the back of the planet is some spread out metal. This is one of the new Titan systems, so making use of the new terrain features that were added, which is why we've got these cliffs and the nice ramps. Okay, let's have a look what people are doing. Everybody's still just building up their eco at the moment. Most people on a single factory. I've gone and got a second air factory out. Yellow's getting up a lobber, which if he targets ground can be used to just pump out units. White's doing a little bit of scouting, and purple's getting up radar and going for a very defensive stance, getting out a laser turret already. Purple's radar shows him there's no one here, so he's free to move out and claim the extra eco. White's got a few tanks up and is still scouting, admittedly in the wrong direction. I've got an air fabber coming out, trying to get a factory at the back and stake a claim to the metal expansions, which has just been scouted by White. As I mentioned, Yellow is shooting around to build up a docks army. He's gone very, very fabber heavy, but he isn't really doing anything with them. Okay, getting up some storage while his commander builds eco. Purple's going for an early T2 factory and is getting out the eco here. White can see him on radar and really should be sending some of those tanks over there. If he can grab all of these extra 6 mechs, that's a huge eco advantage that he really doesn't want to hand to him for absolutely nothing, but it looks like he's just going to ignore him and try and grab some more eco for himself. My eco is tanking horribly because of my choice to go for a lot more factories. I should have probably held off on this, waited to get a bit more metal up, probably gone for a radar instead, bit of extra energy, especially having got the factory up over here. Yellow's also stalling because he's rushing out energy with a load of fabbers and hasn't really expanded much. Purple's eco has taken quite a significant lead because he's managed to grab these extra mechs here, and he's starting to bunker down and get up turrets. White's done a bit of expansion, grabbed the extra mechs here, finally got up a radar, getting up a radar, and scouted to find there's no one in here so I can get some extra eco. But I've lost the fabbers that I had around the back expanding, but my factory's there, so I should be able to hold. Well, I didn't notice Purple sneak all the way over here. Must have been... that was a long walk for a vehicle fabber. And White's got a bit of a scout on my base and has decided to push in my direction. is a little worrying because he's well, looks like he's got the smaller army, but a lot of my army is docks, and I've also got quite a few spinners in there as a precaution, where his force is almost exclusively tanks with an odd Inferno in there. I did try and move to Grenadiers, but due to a misclick I just left it. I kept leaving it by accident. So it kept going back to docks. Grenadiers in this patch have also been made a lot weaker. They can't shoot while they're walking backwards, so they're no longer as useful as they used to be. I managed to hold out on the attack on the back of the planet here. Get up a tank, get up another Faber, but I'm taking ages to do anything with it. Also starting to get metal on this side of the planet. I think yellow must... No, yellow doesn't see me, he's just getting up forces there. Purple is bunkering in even harder and has up some T2 Fabers, so he's starting to get T2 metal. He's already got one, but no T2 energy yet, because he's not really producing units or anything. All of his economy is going straight back into producing more economy. In an FFA like this, that really shouldn't work, but white is being very dormant here, not doing much. He really could have crippled his eco early on, and yellow has just sat there. I don't think any of us... Yellow has seen a turret. White has radar vision on these things and has his lobber up, so could theoretically attack, but the fire rate of the turret is probably sufficient just to slaughter them as they come. White's also doing a bit of a flanking manoeuvre on me. I have no radar, so I don't see it coming. I'm starting to try and get a pelter up so I can hit these tanks there, but my eco is in shocking state. Far too many factories for the relatively small number of metal extractors I've got. Purple has just sent out a massive wave of air scouts to get a good range of vision on everything, so he will now... He knows about my factories and mechs, he's seen most of my base, he's seen most of White's base, possibly all of my base here. Yep, he's seen the kind of proxy base I'm getting up here as well. Seen all of Yellow's base and has some of it on radar. Starting to get up T2 turrets to really bunker in. I wouldn't recommend this approach. He's not got any T2 units, so he's going to be offensively relatively weak, but he's going to would be quite a hard turtle to break. Oh. I started a skirmish with White that I really can't finish. As I said, I have far too many docks in my army. At this point I probably should just have turned off the bolt factories to conserve metal and make sure I could get tanks out faster. But my eco is now verging on positive most of the time, so if I can hold out I'll be in a reasonably good position. I'm a bit ahead of White and significantly ahead of him on the factory count. Factories to 5. Yellow's still just massing his docks force, and he's starting to wall himself in. It's not really going to do anything useful. His docks don't have a chance against Purple's walls. They could probably make a bit of a mess of my base here before my tank army got there. And my expansion out here is being raided yet again by White. once again. The factory is tough enough that it's going to tank a lot of the damage while I get some more tanks out. Also walled myself in a bit here to protect myself, make sure the docks can at least do something useful, and sending down the tanks I was building at the secondary base to give myself a little bit of much needed support. This mix also currently has a lot of infernos in it, so I can tank a lot more damage. It's unlucky there with the infernos deciding not to shoot the boom bots, and I've got a lot of tanks getting stuck in the back of my base for no good reason. Yellow tried an expansion with my tactics, but built it too near to my so I managed to get a fighter out there. I'm also starting to try and knock down White's expansions, but he's going for T2. Purple has finally started building some T2 units, and I sent the T2 Fabra out in a Pelican to get some T2 mechs up. He's also starting to build Hulkins, which is bad news for yellow. Probably okay for the rest of us because he's built them on he's built them on the far side of his base. Yellow's White's T2 factory is going up very slowly. His air fabbers are sitting there idle. There are still a few mechs they could expand to. My tanks are starting to knock down the ones he'd built up. And at this point, with the factory count and the slightly better eco, my army is more than ready for a counter push. And with Inferno charge leading, his commander was caught out of position. And we have our first calm down of the game. Pulling back the units there to make sure that I don't lose them against the Infernos that were still dying off. No point taking extra damage if I don't need to. Trying to get up a couple more factories over here just to expand and protect this area a bit better. Purple now has a massive eco lead because of his early T2. He's also starting to get up T2 power and starting on his second Hulkins. He's got T2 radar up, so he should have full radar sight of Yellow's base here. And there go the docks. Not perhaps the best target, but never mind. Also interesting to note is, I'm not sure if whether it's a bug or whether it's simply because these things, because the arcing shots count as reaching orbital, but the next time it fires, there we go. You can actually see the Hulkin shots, they seem to go up into the orbital layer. So I could see that yellow was being fired on by purple, even though I had absolutely no vision of purple's base at that point, which was a rookie error. I really should have done some earlier scouting. I had an air factory. I could have just dropped a couple of air scouts here and here, had more or less full vision of his base without ever really needing to know. But I didn't. I assumed that I hadn't realised that the other players were going to turtle quite so hard, so I focused on who was near me, going for a third Hulkins and starting to think about nuke protection. I've expanded over to the previous base, and yellow's trying to sneakily steal some of that expansion with an air fabber. Also got some stitches, previously known as combat fabbers, because there is a hell of a lot of metal to reclaim here, especially the commander. That will help prop my eco up for quite a while. The stitch produces 30 metal, It's reclaiming, and you can see probably going down at about 1% a second. Oh. No metal for yellow, but I can starting to get a bit of, I've got radar up so I can get a bit of sight on purple space, realising just how much land he's got, and seeing the fact that he's obviously got T2 up. Did a bit of a scout over some of yellow space. Foolishly sitting my units in line of sight of pelters. I did get a radar up, but it got knocked down. I think I also saw his double wall strap, but and here we see yellow deciding to demonstrate just how powerful tier 2 turrets are against bots by allowing them to be absolutely massacred. If he's lucky, he might knock down some walls. No. Oh yeah, there we go. The first piece of wall has died, possibly the second. But out comes the T2 army. He's also lost most of his base to shelling from the Hawkins. Trying to get a bit of a scout off on, and a Hawkins snipe on the yellow commander. But I think at this point I see, yeah, there we go, catch a glimpse of the T2 units coming my way, which is seriously bad news. I have a significantly larger army, but mine are all T1, and certainly with also discover that he has T2 Storm, which are quite impressive against small numbers of air units. Do manage to drop a few bombs, but it's not done a lot. Managed to get my T2 factory up. I was hoping to get up some T2 eco and get another T2 factory up over here. While all of this was happening, I was focusing more on building up my own base, noticing that yellow was already making a nice mess of, purple was making a nice mess of yellow's base. Vanguards are insanely powerful against just about everything. Enough Infernos will kill them, but you need to get them to arrive just after the Vanguard's shot. Otherwise they are horrifically destructive. You take out vast numbers of units. So you see my army's just melting away. Did manage to kill one Vanguard over there. Getting a bit of damage off on here. But seeing this, I start pushing out the sniper bots because I need something with range. Interesting note, sniper bots have been modified so they now actually shoot at air as well, interestingly enough. I've also managed to push in. I had enough Infernos to tank damage from the advanced laser turrets and break through the walls, so I started taking out his eco. It also slowed his attack, I think, because he was focusing up here. Obviously going to lose everything to the bombers and the Hulkins, but I also got very, very lucky here. His army decided to follow mine rather than pushing into my base. If they'd done that, I think that probably would have been the game for me. Maybe not, because there wasn't a lot of eco there, and I'd still got some T2 power over here. I might have been able to get up more T2 power, but so interesting to note, the Sparks are very good. They're a lot tankier than the Docs or any of the other bots. They can hold their own reasonably well against a similar sized army of tanks. Second push coming in, but fortunately he only had the 2 vehicle factories, so couldn't push an army out. but he did get a nuke up. And once again, with my complete lack of scouting, I had no idea about that. I'd seen the anti-nuke, I'd seen some vehicle factories, and the heavy T2 eco, but I had no idea about the nuke. However, having raided his couple of T2 mechs here, and pushed out, and I think these were previously his mechs, I have managed to bring our ecos back into line, especially also getting up my own T2 mechs around the back here. So his initial attack was nearly devastating, but having managed to survive it, I'm limited as to where I can expand because his Hulkins basically keep me from building anywhere in this area. He's got radar coverage of all of it, so he can just destroy anything that comes that way. But as that annoying and slightly bugged out noise reveals, I'm also getting some slammers in to, but he has just scouted my comm with his bombers. Given that he was playing on his own, and I don't know, maybe he was streaming, that would probably be the best explanation as to why he was pinging that. I should have sent these combat fabbers back down here to try and scrape a bit more metal. Would probably have been a good idea, but at this point I'm floating. Getting up T2 radar, trying to get an idea of what's in his base and exactly how far he expands. I was trying to build up a push at the back of his base here, but unfortunately it took me too long to notice that I was setting the rally point within radar and Hulkins range. Pushed in again to try and destroy the last of his outpost here. So, lost a few units to this, but I think they feel weaker than they used to be. Also getting up T1 radar here just so I can see when I'm attacking. But can't build any metal there. Purple's building a turret here. I think he was hoping to come down and steal this metal. But I've got a radar in the centre here to make sure I had, by this point, certainly once the radar was up, I had pretty much complete coverage. But as we just saw, that nuke just launched, and he knows where my commander is. So I can see that it's heading directly for me. Start trying to run the army away to try and save a few of them. Try to run the commander away, but that involved them walking further in. Fortunately, the commander has just enough health to tank a nuke. And I knew I'd been hacking away at his eco, so was reasonably hopeful that he wouldn't have quite enough to actually push another nuke back out. I saw his fabric expanding here, bombed it away, run my commander away and immediately start healing him. Also start pushing out an anti-nuke to take him to sit under. If the commander dies, the game's over, so we need to protect him. That's another interesting bug, the fact that you actually have to destroy T2 metal wreckage before you can destroy the T1 mechs inside. That certainly makes T2 metal even more useful than it used to be. Did try and expand down here, but his pelters stopped that. I realised just how many Hulkins he's got, so it's going to take something drastic to burst through there. I'd already scouted his anti-nuke, and while my eco's good, it's not good enough to push out enough nukes to overpower an anti-nuke, so time to try the Titans. These two Fabbers been sitting here idle for a little while too long. We need to be building more eco. My cap swap can also see getting up some more air factories, get a bit more of a scout, and at this point I had just got the scout off, so seen quite how much anti-air he'd got. I knew it was a Hail Mary pass, but I think I'd seen I'd seen the north side of his base and that there wasn't as much AA there. So his second nuke is actually doing quite well, 73%, but my anti-nuke is up and at 40%, though I am stalling hard. Still trying to get my metal back up, expanding wherever I can. Rebuild down here, got up some more T1 energy over there. In this game, as long as you can rebuild, you've got a chance that you might actually be able to keep things going. Getting a reasonable amount of metal actually just from reclaiming this. No, I'm not. Apparently I'm getting... Okay, so my air fabber appears to be using metal to reclaim the metal extractor, which is a little bit worrying. It's not ideal. I have at least got one anti-nuke rocket full, so protected, getting up a bit of air because I've seen his scouts and worried that he might be going for an air snipe as well, especially because I've been pumping all of my air production into bombers, going for a snipe of my own. He's obviously seen my title, they're Titan, they're globally visible, so he knows what I'm doing and is trying to get his own out. But he's also producing another nuke which is draining a hell of a lot of metal, and I've raided away all of his metal expansion, prevented him from rebuilding here, destroyed the two mechs here, so his eco is dropped quite low compared to its earlier position. He's also stalling energy at this point from pushing T2 units and building a nuke and building a Titan. It's only got 2 fabbers on it, but he's not got a massive amount of economy. I think he hoped that his turtle strat and his nuke might be able to wipe me out faster than that. And obviously the lack of focus on air and units means that he can't raid away my expansions. So even though they're ridiculously poorly defended, he's allowing me to just build up. Really early on, this was his game to lose. The nuke to the commander was a reasonable choice, but perhaps not the best. And certainly trying to go for a nuke and a Titan. At this point, most of my T2 powers, my T2 power is all defended by the anti-nuke, my Titan's defended by the anti-nuke, my commander's defended by the anti-nuke. The T2 metal is too spread out. I'm also sending my fabbers to start building the rest of the T2 metal. I'm trying to rebuild where he's attacking with the Hawkins, but that's just making sure that the fabber's got something to do. Starting to rebuild down here again as well. Go for the snipe, but I don't think I got a single... I got a couple of bombs off him, but he'd really pushed out the storms. He'd obviously seen my air. May even have had the scout down on the air factories here to know that I was pumping it. No, didn't know about the air factories. Does, however, know that the Titan, should know that the Titan was completed. also snuck 2 bombers in there to make sure that his Titan never got finished. So the Titan moves slowly, but the Hawkins is a rubbish shot. So not sure how many of these actually hit. This one will, but I don't know. He's also got poor target prioritization. He's still aiming at my metal extractors. But the Titans are also ridiculously powerful. 2 shots and the Hawkins is gone. Uses his nuke on it. But about 40% damage from a nuke. The Titans are insanely powerful. Once again, wreckage making a nuisance of itself. Having to knock through the wreckage of the other Hawkins before I can destroy those. And I never noticed I'd done that, but once again my target priority wasn't the best. Shooting right the way over the Hawkins to and while he's moved his army out, sending out my own army. He does have shallows and quite a lot of turrets, but I've also got a reasonable sized T2 force at this point. And it's really his Hawkins that needs to be firing on that, but it's just fallen asleep. Ares is having some targeting issues hitting it, but it doesn't really matter at this point. I'm inside his base, his T2 is going down, and I've got a lot of artillery and ranged units. So even with the Vanguard here taking out the initial units, the commander goes down. My Ares Titan is taking a lot of punishment over here. There's probably enough units there to kill it, but the second one's finished, and engineers were working on the third. And the game's mine anyway. So there we go. That's the first cast finished. Forgotten I got some orbital out to try and was using that to scout his base earlier on. But there we go. That's the first game. As you can see, turtling not particularly effective in this game, especially with the Titans. They are good bunker buster units. As you saw, a normal army gets nowhere near 5 Hawkins. I've tried attacking placements like that before in vanilla PA and got nowhere, but one Titan waltzed through and shrugged off a nuke in the time it took for the enemy army to get in. As always, a decent sized T1 and T2 army is also useful. They actually made the push and got the kill. The Ares just served as a very useful large distraction. We were very lucky that his Hawkins largely ignored the Titan and kept firing on random stuff around the map. Yeah, I think also a good demonstration that if you lose stuff, re-expand. Really, unless your opponent has managed to build up an overwhelming lead and can keep pumping forces at you. His T2 assault here at around the 20-minute mark did a lot of damage, took out a lot of factories, pretty much completely obliterated my army with one Vanguard. That was lost 6-7 mechs, a couple of factories, some masses of units. But at the same time, I managed to raid him, probably do greater damage to his economy with a far smaller force, and I had the unit production to keep the pressure up and to stop him rebuilding this area, to stop him taking this area, whereas he just allowed me to, if he'd sent a few tanks around here at this point, he could have wiped out my T2 factories, my T2 metal. This army at this point was pretty obviously going to die. Could probably have been a bit more efficiently used sending it through my energy field here. He had a scout on it, but interesting game, and certainly one I think I was lucky to win. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll post some more videos soon.